According to surveys and newspaper articles, the average number to retire sits just below $2 million. But that doesn't apply to me. I don't even need $1 million. Sounds crazy? But you can retire with much less than that too. I use simple rules such as the 4% rule to calculate my retirement number. What if you're saving way more than you need and missing out on your life now? When I'm on my deathbed, I won't be saying, I wish I worked more years. Before I had a proper set goal, I was like a ship that had set sail with no destination. But everything changed after I came across the 4% rule. It was my ticket out of the endless treadmill. Finally, I had a goal I could work towards, a motivation, a guiding light. Simply said, the 4% rule lets me determine how much money I need to retire, or to be more precise, it shows me how much money I can withdraw annually from my retirement account without running out of money. It regards inflation and the stock market trend. To figure out my retirement number, I need to flip the formula on its head. Therefore, I need to take my annual withdrawal and multiply it by 25. Let's say I need $80,000 per year, with all my expenses included. Multiplied by 25 equals $2 million, and 4% of $2 million is $80,000. There we have my retirement number if my annual costs were $80,000. The next step I had to figure out is how much money I need every year. And how did I do that? Easy, by writing it down, also called a budget. Day for day, I had to be consistent with this practice to be able to figure out my exact retirement number. It doesn't matter if I'm getting a drink at the server or if I need to upgrade my laptop. I keep track of my budget to see what my annual expenses look like to have the true number for my retirement. You can use the zero-based budget or any other budget rule. It doesn't matter. The most important part is that you are honest to yourself and write down every expense. After months, I could see how much money I was spending, but I wasn't happy with that number, so I analyzed my spending behavior and looked for options to save more of my income. First of all, I could see how quickly small amounts could make a huge difference in my budget. A daily drink at the server just cost $3. Now, multiplied by my workdays, 22, and I wasted around $66 per month, or around $800 per year. Writing it down made me aware of where my money was going, and instead of being lazy, I could go to the small grocery store around the corner and save $2 per can. It made me aware of how much dining out was hitting my budget, and the list goes on and on and on. That doesn't mean that I cut out all the fun of my life. I was just wiser with my money. And when we have an expensive month because, for example, I bought a new phone, then we know that we need to cut a little bit back for the next month to be on track again. It's like a healthy diet. It's all about a good balance with cheat days included. After a month of being aware where my money was going and trying to cut unnecessary costs, I was able to cut our expenses to around $1,800 per month in Germany. Therefore, with the 4% rule, I figured out that my retirement number is just $500,000. I still could reduce it by keeping the same quality of life to reach financial freedom even earlier. And here comes my unfair advantage. I moved locations, but not just cities. I moved with my wife to her home country, Brazil, where the cost of living is 50% cheaper than in the States or Germany. And now I just need to reach 300,000 to feel comfortable. But 300,000? How can I be so comfortable with such a small nest egg when I'm aiming for early retirement, you wonder? I can assure you I won't need to return to work when I'm 65, and here's why. The average inflation rate since the 60s is around 4%. However, hence I invest in the S&P 500 index funds, which tracks the 500 biggest US companies. I'm beating inflation with 6% plus. Over the last 30 years, the S&P 500 has had a return of 10% per year. So while I'm taking out 4% of my investments, it still keeps growing by 6% every year. And this gives me so much trust in my formula. As I mentioned in the beginning, a budget is a must-have. I have the perfect video for you to watch next, in which I talk about the 5 proven budget methods. See you there, my friend.